Hello.
Hello and welcome to
Red, White, and Bi.
episode 15.
15, Ash. Hell of a number.
Hell of a number.
What were you doing at 15?
Being fat.
I was going to say, I bet you were cute at 15.
I was chubby at 15.
15, I was like in driver's training, maybe? Freshman? Something like that.
Yeah, I was a sophomore and not in driver's training. I don't think. Maybe I was.
Yeah, I was like a grade behind for my age. Not because I failed.
No.
It was because I was the youngest. I am the youngest in my family, and I don't think my mom wanted all her kids to be school-aged yet or something, so she made me wait a year. I cried about it.
I didn't go away to college for a year because my mom would have missed me, which was really fair to me.
Yeah, I didn't go away to college ever because I couldn't afford it.
Well, I was blessed by a hardworking grandfather, and that's the only reason I was able to go away to college. So,
Well, that's great.
Cheers to you, Pa.
Yeah, thanks,
Cheers
Pa.
on my tequila.
Yeah, speaking of tipsy and tequila, Ash, what you got?
I've got Sprite and tequila because we really did run out of brown liquor.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. We were supposed to go to the store, and we didn't. I, once again, am stuck with the gin here. So I have gin and Sprite and a little Cointreau. Still rocking the citrus. I got a few more days of summer before we change over.
We'll restock the bar soon enough.
Speaking of a few more days of summer left, the official cultural end of summer, if not the equinox, is Labor Day weekend. Can't wear white after Labor Day. Kids go back to school.
I'm wearing a white t-shirt right now.
Well, you're totally allowed because it's still technically August. So
Yeah, and I can wear a white t-shirt whenever I want because I'm a little thing now. No more fat 15-year-old.
Are fat people not allowed to wear white?
I mean, keep it tight so you can wear white. That's what they say.
Oh, I've never heard that. Okay, so Labor Day, though. Let's start with that. I wish I could ask you this and surprise you with some new information, but I know you know everything. So I'm just going to, maybe you ask me.
Hannah, where does the 40-hour work week come from? Why do we celebrate Labor Day?
Well, I think the 40-hour work week is sort of a representation of like workers' rights and that we don't need to sell our soul to a corporation just to live and pay our bills, even if it feels that way. Most of us have a 40-hour work week or somewhere near that. And if you had asked me 2 hours ago, I would tell you, well, everything online appears to point toward unions and unions pushing for laborers' rights, workers' rights, organized hourly sort of workers pushing against the government and earning a 40-hour work week. However, I'm going to explain a little story to you. I was on my social media and I saw our local paper did a story about the 40-hour work week. And I know, like, just vaguely here and there that it's a little bit political because I think you had mentioned where you thought it came from. I had always heard that it came from unions, so I clicked on the comments because I'm just here for the fights in the comment section. Don't even read the article. I would say it was like a 70-30 split. About 70% of the people were saying what I had always thought, what I had always been taught, that it was like a laborers union movement that got us this right. Maybe not right, but luxury. And then the other 30% was pointing to, of all people, Henry Ford, which, as a Michigander, as a Metro Detroiter, I really should fucking know this. That Henry Ford, they were saying, championed the 40-hour work week, really revolutionized workers in a lot of ways, like the assembly line. I remember learning about that. Some of the best pay rate in the area at the time. That's probably why both of us are here in Metro Detroit, because people came from all over the world for these jobs, like with amazing hours and great pay. So, long story short, I finally, after 38 years, look it up and decide for myself what the answer is. Even the AI-generated answer on Google attributes it to Henry Ford. It was fucking Henry Ford, a free market capitalist, industry innovator, probably anti-union if I were to guess, a business mogul entrepreneur.
Yeah.
gave us the 40-hour work week. It was signed into some sort of like labor law or whatever by FDR in 1938. But it was popularized and championed and like culturally accepted because of Henry Ford. And I don't know if this is like a Mandela effect or if it's like active rewriting history efforts or what, but it's like we have the collection of the culmination of human intelligence in our back gene pocket. And you can't fucking look up the facts?
Well, and here's my question. I'm just asking a question.
Sure.
If you're a labor union and you really haven't done much for workers, why not just take the really beneficial changes that somebody else made and say you did them?
The least you could do is plagiarize, is what you're saying?
Well, and say you did them and say you did it all the time until people believe it.
And it is astounding how many people believe it when we have people who were like alive, like in living memory. Henry Ford did this. And here I am, 30, and I'll admit I'm part of the problem, or was part of the problem until about 45 minutes ago. Here I am, a Michigander, 38 years old, and I just accepted what I heard online. And I own that.
So what do they call when a union, tries to bring a business to the table to make changes in their contract? They call it collective bargaining. It's my opinion that nothing good happens because a collective is involved, and everybody does better when they advocate for themselves as an individual. And this is a case where an individual entrepreneur decided that he wants the best workers working for him and not the competition. So he's going to incentivize them staying with him by giving them a 40-hour work week, by giving them higher wages.
He's competing for the cream of the crop.
Exactly. So I mean...
And they're competing to work for him because he only wants the best.
Exactly.
It's a give and take relationship. I think there's a lot to be said about collective bargaining. There's a lot to be said about realizing the power the many have against the one. I don't think that unions were a bad idea in the beginning. I think there's a lot of usefulness for them, and maybe we'll disagree on this. I think the heart and the spirit of what a union was supposed to be is on track. However, I think it is so bloated and corrupt, and it has outlived its usefulness because it just protects like lazy and weak people anymore. I don't think that's what they used to be. I think they were a good idea for a short time. But like anything else, like collectively based or socialist based, you get one bad apple in there and it poisons the entire system. And I think we're seeing the decay and the poison in spades.
Well, and we weren't intent on talking about this, but I do think it kind of speaks to a problem that you have with modern unions being so political and so like throwing dues to Democratic candidates wherever they are. Yeah, like unions typically, as a rule, most of them support Democratic candidates. Usually teachers unions,
wrong.
Industry,
I get that like culturally they would, but it feels wrong that they're like fiscally supporting.
Well, that's the thing. Teachers unions especially, I think, push a lot of stuff that could maybe be helping teachers and kids to political candidates. And a huge example happened this week, which, something that you said reminded me of this. Supposedly, like the point was they pay dues, and these dues go to supporting the people in the union, their interests, and just
strengthen the group,
strengthening their contracts, their interests, and that's how it was supposed to be. Well, we have an example now where the teachers union in New York City decided to endorse Mandami, who's running for mayor, and now within the ranks, tons of Jewish teachers came out and said, this guy's an anti-Semite and we don't want him and you're not representing us and we're paying dues. This is essentially taxation without representation. You don't represent us and you're using our money to pay for a candidacy that we don't support.
Now, I know, at least in Michigan, we're what's called a right to work state, which means that you are like legally protected. If you don't want to participate in the union, you can't be discriminated against in terms of like being fired or like pushed out of your industry. I don't know where New York stands in terms of that, but that's kind of like, imagine your livelihood is on the line. You're paying all this money to be part of a group that's supposed to be advocating for you, and here they are voting for somebody who wants to see you, who wants to see you out of their state, really.
Yeah, so I always think the best way that you're going to get the representation you deserve is to represent yourself. And as much as I think that we need government, I'm a minarchist, I want a small government. I do wish we could keep it as small as possible, because that's the best chance you get at like localizing things and really being able to talk to the people who are supposed to represent your interests. Whereas if somebody like a big bloated teachers union doesn't care about your interests and just takes your money, or in the case of this, maybe they take credit for things they didn't even do for you, it's just not really, as you point out, what it was intended to be.
Yeah, I wish, and smarter minds than mine have failed to come up with a solution here, so I don't feel bad about that. But as always, the truth seems to lie in the middle of the road. So how can we protect ourselves against corporations who will very easily like lie to you and pit you against each other and pay you an unfair wage? How do we balance that with a union that will protect its laziest and most underqualified people and use the money toward political causes that really sometimes aren't in line with your politics, but maybe directly against you as well?
I think the state of Michigan is interesting in that I don't know if this is true in other states, but like Hannah, that it is not a crime. They can't do anything about it in the state of Michigan if you tell a coworker how much you make and they tell you how much you make.
In fact, I'm a big proponent of being very vocal. As long as somebody wants to know, I will absolutely tell them exactly what I make. And I think it gives us all power to have that when we go into a conversation with like corporate or administrative.
So maybe your middle of the road solution is individuals advocating for themselves, but you guys all knowing what you make. So it's like, hey, why are you paying Hannah $2 more an hour than I make when we do the same job or whatever, like maybe transparency. In collaboration in that way, rather than like we're all getting the same no matter what. Might be the best way to go about that.
So suffice to say, this is a historical Labor Day weekend for one individual in Michigan named Hannah, because she learned the true meaning of Labor Day, and that it is in fact competitive free market capitalism that gave us what we enjoy.
And it's always, spoiler alert, free market capitalism that gives us what we enjoy.
Touche. So in addition to a brief history of Labor Day that probably no one asked for, when we were looking at the news cycle this week, my news feeds on both my stupid apps were choked with news of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting engaged. And I'm proud to say that Ash and I had to look up how to pronounce Travis's last name, because we could give two shits about both of these people combined.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Taylor and Travis on their lavender engagement. I'm sure these two will make tons of money on the publicity and not enjoy each other's company.
And I just have to say, unlike Hannah, who was wearing a sports shirt that I bought her, like, ironically.
Yeah, it just says sports with an exclamation point, because that's how much I give a shit about sports. I like to go to baseball games, like to get a beer and watch people.
And I like to go to baseball games, and I liked to play baseball. And I have never been to a professional football game, but
Same.
I love college football, and I like watching NFL football. However...
And I love her anyway.
I don't make her do it. That's why she likes me. But I don't like that sports aren't sports anymore, that you can't just watch sports, that things are either political or there's like this, phony engagement. I just liked watching the sport,
Yeah, I as much as I I can't overstate how much I fucking hate sports. But from that place, I can empathize that it's like an escapism thing, and it's something that people can kind of lose themselves in, and it's probably like a comforting tradition. Root for the team, feel good about everything. That would be sad to see like politics and like bullshit like this bleed into your escape.
And we didn't intend to talk about this either, but Bill Maher actually made headlines this week because on, I guess, the end zones of some of these stadiums, they had put in the paint, "End racism."
Fuck off.
And I guess Trump, I don't know if it was by executive fiat or just like he, asked for it and they did it or whatever, but he's getting rid of it. And his female journalist commentator that he has on his show says, "Why?" And he goes, "Why? Because it's stupid. It never should have been put there to begin with."
Yeah, let's rephrase. Why? Why is he against ending racism? And he replies, "Because it's sports and we just want to watch the ball bounce around and men in tight pants."
And he goes, like, you really think that somebody seeing an end zone that says "end racism," if they're a racist, is going to make them stop being one? And then she kind of like looks and she goes, "Well, I guess you had a point there."
It's very preaching to the choir, and also like hearkening back to one of our previous episodes where we talked about the Bud Light misstep. Read your fucking audience.
Yeah. And to be honest, like, some of the most exceptional players in the NFL are not white players. You'd have to be kind of dumb to love football as much as like everybody who loves football and hate the people that you're watching. It's like loving Michael Jordan, and then you just kind of have to forget that he's black. Like, to watch him be a winner in the 90s, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I think that I obviously don't know about sports, so I'm just going to throw out a very like unsubstantiated opinion. But it seems like sports in the United States probably has a more diverse makeup of teams than you see in the general population. I think there are more minorities represented on teams. Probably. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
So, yes, end racism. But also, I love your point. Like, do you think that a racist, like, deep South Klan member person is watching an NFL game and sees the end zone and is like, "Oh, okay, I'll change my entire culture"?
If you only watch NASCAR because you can't stand to see people of a different color, maybe that's your sport or whatever. But how many of those people even exist?
I'll be honest, I don't know. But I really agree with you that painting it on the end zone is only pandering to the people that you already agree with you. And it's not going to change anybody who doesn't.
So anyway, get back to playing football.
Ash, I should mention I'm drunker on this show than I have ever been. Not sure why. I ate a balanced meal today. I'm pretty drunk. Do we want to move on to the next topic?
Sure. I saw an article from Fox News wherein a pro-Palestinian conference panelist called the United States evil and urged for destroying the idea of America in Detroit.
Excuse me.
So Rashida Tlaib was present. She is a Dearborn representative. She's a member of Congress. We should
explain for like the 4 audience members we have, if there's anybody who isn't familiar with Michigan, Dearborn is a city in Michigan that's pretty close to Detroit. It borders it. And I have heard, at least at one point, I'm not sure if it's still true, it is the most concentrated population of Arabs outside of the Middle East. So they have like the calls of prayer, they have mosques all over. It's a very like, it's basically like stepping out of America into an Arab city, which can be really cool. I've been to the Arab American Museum down there. There's a lot of great food. It's a cool city, but like it's not without its problems.
And I don't know necessarily that maybe Minnesota has taken over in that regard.
It's definitely possible. That statistic is pretty old.
But I have heard Dearborn referred to as like Dearbornistan, like
Yeah,
it's its own world.
It's out of time. It's out, like, when you think Michigan, you wouldn't believe that, like, this is here.
So they had this People's Conference for Palestine, which was held just yesterday in Detroit. And they have a speaker there that whose name is Padada. He's a PhD student in economics and research coordination at Progressive International, whatever that means. And he basically led a panel called No Weapons for Genocide. So they are, of course, calling to defund Israel, I'm sure. And they basically said that the United States is an empire that's motivated by greed, that we're basically a puppet government of Israel at this point, and Americans need to rid themselves of the idea of American exceptionalism, that we're imperialists, and that we basically think America is beyond reproach.
So they're saying this in America?
Yeah.
Because, okay. As you were.
Because, and we should point out two things with that sentence, really. People have said you cannot criticize Israel when all I see in the mainstream media all day long is that Israel is committing genocide and starving all the Gazans.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a consequence of the fact that I have recently been pretty far on the left and have since sort of like reorganized my mind and my thoughts, or if it's just that that's what's out there in general mainstream, somebody who has no political affiliation. All I see, and I'm not qualifying this statement right or wrong, all I see are very, maybe 80% opinions in favor of the Palestinian cause in terms of everything that's going on over there. And I'm just going to interrupt also to say that this is a very complex situation that we don't pretend to take on this show. We're just telling you the facts about stories that stem from this main conflict, like the one we're talking about right now. We're not taking on the main conflict. We're talking about stories that are secondary to it, such as this one.
And here's the issue. I think if you can say that the country is, edging towards fascism, but we still have free speech, you're not 100% there yet. I am fond of saying that it's a fascist uniparty because they're taking too much from us. With this current administration, there's talk of getting the government more involved in private companies. These are things I don't support. But the mere fact that I can criticize the government shows that we still have plenty of freedom.
Yeah, this podcast is evidence that we don't feel in danger from the government. We're not worried about going to jail or being imprisoned or fined or anything even worse than that. We're allowed to say what we want to say.
And the thing is, I actually feel more fear that my employer would find this podcast and fire me over it.
For sure.
Which I would also feel is their right to do. Than I do that, Trump is going to find me because I think he's a loser and throw me in jail for calling him a loser, I mean... it is what it is. So the mere fact that they can have this rally, it's like, hey, try doing this in Palestine.
Did you say that they called it the heart of the empire?
They said we're having this rally in the heart of the empire.
I'm kind of flattered. Detroit, we get to be the prom queen. We're the heart of the empire. That hasn't happened in a hot minute.
Well, to me, it's funny. You see this coordination between pro-Palestinian activists and the rest of the left, because we also have these no kings protests going on. And now you're saying that America is an empire. It's no, I'm sorry. We formed because we didn't want a king. And we don't have a king.
Yeah, and I think all you have to do is turn on, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, if any, all you have to do is put a toe into the river of the internet to see that people question and criticize this country all the time. It's sort of an American pastime to say what, any given politician is doing wrong at any given time. There's nothing more American than protest and dissent with the current administration, which this rally is participating in as well.
Yeah.
So to say that, like, there's this idea of American exceptionalism that can never be challenged or criticized is fun, maybe, and maybe it works up the people in the rally, but it's wholly unfounded and ironic and sort of like, oh, honey, like, have you looked in the mirror today?
And people in Europe are quite literally going to jail for social media posts and memes. And fortunately, that's not happening here. I may be, if it turns out all of the Christians are right, St. Peter might have some memes to show me before he doesn't let me in. Because
memes that you've posted.
Yeah, I could possibly go to hell for this. I'm kind of thinking maybe I deserve it, but
hell's not real.
Hell, Michigan is.
Michigan is real. Paradise, Michigan is real. So you can go to both, and I'll drive you.
And I'll read John Milton in both places.
So suffice to say, like, this is like scary language, but I think ironically, there's nothing more American than dissenting. I just hope that even if one person in that audience was smart enough to realize the irony, that would be a success. I know shit like this goes down all the time. I'm sure, like, in the deep South or like whatever, like on both sides of the aisle, in both camps, extreme delusion. I'm hoping that this is just another instance of it, but it's a little strange because, this is like the heart of the Midwest, if not the country. This is the heart of, like, blue collar America. This is Motor City.
Yeah, and the mere fact that this rally happened, to your point, I love that they don't realize that the fact that this rally happened proves that everything they're saying isn't true.
I know. It's like the meme of the guy blinking, like, excuse me, what?
Me?
So, yeah, I wish those people luck, I guess. Good luck.
So our last story is a little tiff between Jen Psaki, former press secretary for Biden, and the current press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, who saw that Jen Psaki had posted some comments about the Minnesota school shooting in a Catholic school that she considered deeply insensitive, and she addressed them in the last presser. So I'm going to read what Jen Psaki actually said on Twitter or X because, honestly, I was kind of curious what she had actually said. She had posted, "Prayer is not freaking enough. Prayer doesn't end school shootings. Prayers don't make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back. Enough with the thoughts and prayers." And I was thinking about the fact that these kids went to a Catholic school, that their parents probably are finding the only comfort they can right now in prayer. Mm-hmm. And it is kind of insensitive to the families who are actually going through it, I thought. It turned out then that two different people, the mayor of Minneapolis and Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, chose to take the same take on this back and forth between the press secretaries and say they were literally praying when they got shot.
Ah, man.
Which to me, Gavin Newsom, who wants to be president, that was a real misstep in my view.
There's a lot of things you could say right now. Like this is a horrible story. Mm-hmm. We don't have to recap it for you guys. You know what happened. There was a shooter in an elementary school and they were in a Catholic mass when it happened, and it's just horrible. I understand the idea that thoughts and prayers aren't enough and you feel like you need, like, political change, you need legislative change. So I understand that a politician is looking at legislation and saying, like, thoughts and prayers are not enough. But to have the tone deafness of such a response is, like, it's embarrassing for everybody. It's so, like, tone deaf isn't a strong enough term. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, and I don't need to be on the left or on the right to see what each side does after a shooting. You know, that Republicans say that thoughts and prayers go out to the family, and Fortunately, Tom Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, actually introduced some legislation. They always say there's never any action, and he feels like these kids are fish in a barrel because there was legislation in the 90s that schools are gun-free zones, and he would like there to be protection, that there are guns on school campuses actually protecting the kids. So that is a response, whether you agree with it or not. It's a legislative action to try to make change. And then, of course, on the left, you get gun control. And you get the same, like, thoughts and prayers, like, you guys never do anything. You know, it's both sides politicize. And I understand that. And we expect it at this point. But I would say that this is the most vitriol I've seen thrown back and forth. You know, and really, it's like, at the end of all of this, there are real people who were hurt here. There was a little boy who was praying and was shot.
Oh my God.
And, you know, when these things happen, it's like, shouldn't we think about the people actually affected and what will comfort them, and not kind of like make fun of it, like that it doesn't work because they died?
Yeah, like I feel like perhaps, you know, I'm going to make some assumptions here. I think perhaps the idea behind the people who are saying stuff like this is that, like, action needs to be in place of thoughts and prayers. However, like, the very clear religious implication of the religious tones of the situation of everything that went down in a church during prayer, you can't tell somebody how to cope with that. You can't tell the families of those poor little kids that they're not supposed to turn to their faith about that. I don't think that was their intention when they said this, but it doesn't detract from the idea that they didn't think about those families at all. They didn't read the situation at all. They chose their words so poorly and so callously. It's so obvious to me that you are co-opting someone's tragedy to further your career.
Yeah.
I know on this podcast we very often take a side. I try as hard as I can to balance that out. I don't think this is a sided opinion to take. I feel very strongly that if this had happened in a mosque and children were praying in a mosque and someone took them down, if children were praying in any sort of religious institution and someone took them down, it's never okay. And, like, you can't take away from the very dearly held beliefs of the victims.
And I'm sorry, we have to consider the fact of where it happened, and that if Christians feel that they have been religiously targeted and religiously persecuted, to tell them then not to lean into their religion for comfort is deeply insensitive. It to me, like, I mean, how many stories, you would know much better than I, Hannah, how many stories are there in the Bible where people are tested, you know, like, do you own to the fact that you're a Christian and hold to that belief and maybe die for that? Or
the idea of martyrdom and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. And you make a good point. Like, if any other religion were being persecuted and they held true to their faith until the end, I think that would be celebrated. Like we talk about how Daniel Pearl, the journalist, was faced with a choice to basically, you know, shunt off Judaism, and his last words were, "My father is a Jew, my mother is a Jew, and I'm a Jew." And that is, like, considered a brave thing to have done, and like it just seems really unfair to these families to treat them that way. So I can see why people are upset.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to say, like, thoughts and prayers are not enough. As tone deaf as it is, I understand the sentiment. But then to double down on it by saying, like, these kids were praying and it didn't save them, go fuck yourself. And that's from an agnostic. Like, I'm not opposed to the idea of God if I, like, you know, have a life-changing moment or like a moment of truth or proof. Like, I'm here for it, and I would look forward to that, honestly. I don't have a religious affiliation. Like, that is astoundingly cruel to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like more of a Christian than that person. I feel like more of a faithful person than anyone who has the stomach enough to say that and shave their face in the morning.
Yeah, and I expected what Jen Psaki said, and I do think what Gavin Newsom and what Mayor Jacob Frey said is way more offensive, you know, in like, they were literally praying when it happened. It's just like unnecessary and frankly like rude.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
As somebody who went to a Christian school and like whatever, like I joke about it and kind of make fun of it in retrospect because that's how I deal with my trauma. But like plenty of people didn't have trauma who went through that same experience with me. Plenty of people, you know, double mortgage their homes to send their kids to the school that I went to. And that's very real for them. And to like joke about it and diminish it and say that your God couldn't save you, like, fuck you. What makes you different than the person who shot?
And I just want to mention that there's a PhD in evolutionary biology that I follow on Twitter who said, you know, he is an atheist, but that he understands people are helped by prayer.
Absolutely.
And that he doesn't understand that take at all. And, you know, whatever gives these people comfort and whatever is helpful to them right now is something that we should all support. And I really appreciated seeing that, you know, just like Hannah being an agnostic, I like that we can like stand up for people who deserve it, even if we don't necessarily agree on everything.
I think faith is really beautiful. I don't partake in it because of my own personal reasons. And I have not to make this a theology discussion. There's a piece of me that wants to participate in it and that wishes that I didn't have like this like right-brained adversarial sort of response to it. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's a really healthy way to cope with the human condition and all the pain and suffering that all of us face all the time. I think it's beautiful and healthy, and however somebody chooses to practice a faith, I think it's their business, and it has nothing to do with the bullshit of politics and what politicians will say about it after. It's kind of disgusting that people bring that into it. And I think if I recall correctly, when I was like looking at some of these articles, the person who did it was a leftist who hated Trump. And I not to make this partisan, I don't understand the connection between that and a Christian.
No?
There's no connection between hating a president and shooting a child. It's so dark and it's so disgusting that people try to bring that element into it when it's like, no, what happened is that an adult killed a kid in a safe place. Yeah. And it's the most fucked up thing I can think of.
Yeah. And I think whatever somebody who loses a child needs that helps them and that doesn't hurt anybody else is something that we should just hope for more of.
Absolutely. It's nobody's business how a person who goes through unimaginable tragedy copes. I'm grateful if they feel like they have something that helps them at all. Like, that's special and rare and doesn't like assuage the pain, but I'm glad if they have something. Yeah,
and I guess what it reminds me of is, and what that comment from the, you know, very smart evolutionary biologist who's an atheist reminds me of, is that people can have really good things inside them, even if you don't see eye to eye.
Sure.
And I keep thinking, you know, I don't believe in reincarnation at all, but I think that there are tenets of Buddhism that make for really kind people. And like, I'm grateful there are Buddhists. I don't need to believe everything they believe to be grateful that there are kind people in the world who just, you know, want to live a good life. Yeah. And what happened to that? what happened to, like, being grateful that there are people who are well-intentioned, even if we don't agree.
Yeah, and I don't understand hating a religion, like, full stop. And I'll apply that to any religion that we know about today. We talked about it early on in this series, like in episode 1. I'm not sure how many people have gone back to listen to that. I was raised super fundamentalist Christian. Even so, since leaving that behind and having a huge problem with that entire subculture, there are a lot of things in the Bible that are just good.
Yeah.
Like, I can't throw the Bible out full stop. There's a lot of, like, wisdom in there. There's a lot of kindness and love and, like, taking care of each other. And I think, I obviously don't know every religion in existence today, but I think that there are many religions you can say that of.
Yeah.
So if you can't find a little piece of humanity in somebody who has a faith that's different than yours, that's your problem, man.
Yeah, and as much as, like, even if you're not a Christian, I think most people know the people that, like, took the good things out of Christianity that they were supposed to take.
Yeah.
That are just, like, loving and kind. We have 2 people that are really good Christians who listen to this show, and I'm grateful for them.
Yeah,
so.
think about it for a second. Like, close your eyes, and when you think of the best Christian you know one. When you think of the best Muslim you know one. Same is true of every religion. I just wanted to throw in there that, like, our hearts are with these families, the kids who went through this and witnessed this, and obviously the kids who are gone. It's an unimaginable tragedy. And while I don't participate in a Christian faith, I think my faith is in people. And you couldn't have said it better. Like, I believe in the kind of person who would listen to this podcast. I think that most people are good. Most people want to find a human connection between people of different faiths, people who are different than them. I think most of us care about what happened and care about each other and see beyond stupid bullshit like the name of our church that we go to or don't go to. And we want to see this country get better.
And however you have to find meaning in a tragedy, whether you, turn to God or whether you, find some help in community, whatever is good for a person that's going through something difficult, I'm supporting.
Yeah, find your antidote to the human condition and run with it. And that's all we can hope for each other.
Amen.
Praise be. All right. I guess I've gotten a little too serious. Guys, thanks for listening. 15 is crazy. I had always hoped we'd get to 20, and we will, but, like, 15 feels like a big deal.
15. Baruch Hashem.
We should have a quinceañera.
A quinceañera for the podcast.
Yeah,
I'll
put a big puffy white dress on.
Okay, I'll get you a little tiara.
We have a tiara.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
we
the
do.
birthday tiara.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. We'd love to hear from you. Like Ash said, we have our email address, redwhiteandbi@gmail.com. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, and we'll read it. Promise.
And we'll see you next week or the week after, we hope.
Sweet 16 coming up.